Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be trying to predict all the NFC teams and where they will end up in the division and how I think the playoff race will look at the end of the season. Of course, the draft hasn't happened yet. This is not taking into account what I think will happen in the draft. So after the draft, I'll make a new video based on what happens there. I hope you enjoy the video. The first division is the NFC East. To me, there's only one team that is really good in this division, so I feel I have a pretty good idea of what will happen. In fourth place, I have the New York Giants. Daniel Jones played better than expected last season, and he could improve in his second season, or he could play worse. I just can't see the Giants playing well, especially with no big offseason moves. I think the Giants will have one of the first picks in the draft next year. In third place, I have Washington. I think Haskins can improve a bit, but he's going to have to improve a lot before they can compete for a playoff spot. They made some free agent signings, but none of them are fantastic. They have the second pick in the draft, and if Chase Young is on the board, they need to take him. He will be a great player for them, and he will give them a better chance for a playoff spot. In second place, I have the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys improved this offseason. I think they got worse. They lost a lot of players in free agency, and some of the signings aren't going to make up for the players they lost. They still have a very good offense on paper, but I'm not sure if they will play like they probably should. In winning the division, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles definitely improved this offseason, especially on defense. Trading for a great corner in Darius Slay and adding Jason Hargrave in free agency will give them possibly one of the best defenses in the league. They still have a hole at wide receiver, but there are lots of players they could get in the draft. They could also get a backup running back, but other than that, I think the Eagles can go back to the playoffs this season. The next division is the NFC North. I think the NFC North is better than the NFC East, but I don't think it's that great either. Some of the teams just don't look that good to me. In fourth place, I have the Detroit Lions. There were some good offseason moves by the Lions, but not enough for them to move up in the division. It could be Matt Patricia's last season as the coach of the Lions if they don't play well. They do have some good players on offense like Kenny Golladay, Kerryon Johnson, Marvin Jones, but unless Matt Stafford can have a great season, I think the Lions will stay fourth in the division. In third, I have the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings were a playoff team last season, but I don't think they'll be able to do that again. I'm not the biggest believer in Kirk Cousins, and losing one of his top receivers is just going to make it harder for him this season. The Vikings will have to rely on Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook on offense, but on defense they'll have some big holes. They need help in the secondary and on the defensive line. It will help that they have 2 first-round picks, but I can't see the Vikings returning to the playoffs. In second place, I have the Chicago Bears. I think the Bears can bounce back after missing the playoffs last season. I think Mitch Trubisky will be the Week 1 starter, but I'm not sure if he'll be starting all season long. I think that because they brought in another quarterback, Trubisky will feel a lot more pressure. I don't know if that will make him play better or worse. Signing Robert Quinn will make this defense a lot better, and I think it can be one of the best defenses in the league again. The Jimmy Graham signing was questionable, but I still think the Bears will have a chance to be a wild card team this season. And winning the division, I have the Green Bay Packers. I don't think the Packers will do as well as last season, but I still think they'll win this division. They're going to need a wide receiver, but they can get one in the draft. I don't think Aaron Rodgers will play as good this season, and I'm not sure about Aaron Jones either. I do think Devontae Adams can have a good season, though, and I think the defense can play better than last year. I think the Packers' record will be worse than last season, but I can still see them going to the playoffs. The next division is the NFC South. I think this division is one of the best. All the teams are really good, and I think all of them could make a run for the playoffs this season. In fourth place, I have the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons will be good this season. They could have one of the best offenses in the league with Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, Julio Jones, and Calvin Ridley. Their defense could be questionable, though. I think they will draft a cornerback, but there will still be some more holes. That is why I don't think they will be in third or second. But I think if they can draft very well, they can move up in this division and possibly be a wild card team. In third place, I have the Carolina Panthers. I can see the Panthers going to the playoffs this season. Christian McCaffrey will still be one of the best running backs in the league, and pairing him with a great quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater will be great. Their offense can have a pretty good season. Since Luke Kuechly retired, they'll need a linebacker, but if Isaiah Simmons is still there when they pick in the draft, they can fill that hole pretty easily. I could see the Panthers being a wild card team this season, especially if Teddy Bridgewater can continue what he started with the Saints last season. Second in the division is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, I think, are going to be a playoff team this season. I could definitely see them winning this division, but right now I have them second. I think their offense will be great, especially now that they have Tom Brady. I don't think Tom Brady will be as good as some people think, but I think he will bring the Bucs to the playoffs. I don't think he'll throw as many yards or touchdowns as Jameis Winston threw, but I'm pretty sure he won't throw as many interceptions. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL, and O.J. Howard is a great tight end. I think they need some more help on the offensive line, but other than that, I expect to see Tampa Bay in the playoffs this year. And finally, winning the division, I have the New Orleans Saints. Even though Tom Brady is coming to this division, I still think Drew Brees and the Saints will win it. Signing Emmanuel Sanders is great because they don't need to rely as much on Michael Thomas. I think that Alvin Kamara could have one of his best seasons in his career this year in both the receiving game and the running game. Their defense has a few holes, but they can fix that in the draft, and in the end, I think the Saints will be one of the best teams in the NFC. And the final division is the NFC West. I think this is the best division in the NFC and possibly in the NFL. I think 3 teams in this division will make it to the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of them go to the Super Bowl. In 4th place right now, I have the Rams. The Rams are not in a good position right now. They aren't necessarily that bad, they just have lots of problems with the team. Jared Goff hasn't been that reliable. They don't really have a starting running back right now. Their wide receivers and tight ends look fine in my opinion, and on the defense side of the ball, they still have Aaron Donald. But they lost Dante Fowler and Corey Littleton, and they might be a little hard to replace, especially since they don't have a first-round pick. It doesn't look good for the Rams this season, and I have them bottom of the NFC West. 3rd in the division, I have the Seattle Seahawks. Even though I have the Seahawks 3rd in the division, that doesn't mean I think they'll be bad. I think they will be in the playoffs as a wild card, and I could see them even making a run for the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson is at least a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Rashad Penny and Chris Carson is still a great running back duo, and Tyler Lockett is a very good receiver. Bobby Wagner is still a great linebacker, and they have some other great defensive players as well. Jadeveon Clowney won't be coming back next season, but I still think their defense is good enough, and so is their offense. 2nd place, I have the 49ers. The 49ers are coming off a loss in the Super Bowl, but they should still make the playoffs. I don't think they'll go back to the Super Bowl, but their roster is definitely good enough to give them a chance. I'm not so sure about Jimmy Garoppolo, but they have some great running backs. They need another wide receiver, but they can get one at the draft, and now that they have such a high pick, they can get one of the best ones. They did trade DeForest Buckner for that pick, but since they have 2 first-round picks, they can get his replacement too. George Kittle is a top 3 tight end in the league, and Richard Sherman can still play good for them on defense. I think the 49ers will be back in the playoffs this year. And winning the division, I'm the Arizona Cardinals. This is my bold prediction of the year. I think the Cardinals will go from a top 10 pick to a top seed in the playoffs. The first reason I think this will happen is because it will be Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury's 2nd season together. In the past few seasons, we have seen quarterbacks and coaches having great seasons in their 2nd year together, and I think that could happen again here. I think the Cardinals will have a top offense this season. Of course, they've had Larry Fitzgerald for a long time. Then they drafted the quarterback of their future in Kyler Murray last year. Mid-season, they traded for their running back Kenyon Drake, and recently they traded for a top 3 receiver in the league in DeAndre Hopkins. Their offense is great. The only problem is the offensive line, but they can get someone with their first-round draft pick. They also have good players in their defense like Chandler Jones, Patrick Peterson, and young safety Budda Baker. I think that next season Kyler Murray will be in the race for MVP, and the Cardinals will be a top team in the NFC. Now I'm going to try to predict all the playoff teams and where they will end up. The number 1 seed I think will be the New Orleans Saints. I think Drew Brees will have one more chance at the Super Bowl before he potentially retires in the offseason. At the 2nd seed, I have the Arizona Cardinals. I know most people don't think this, but I think the Cardinals have some great pieces all over the team. 3rd, I have the Eagles. I could see the Eagles as a 2 seed, but they just need some more help on offense. 4th is the Green Bay Packers. I think the Packers will be good. I just don't think they will be as good as last season, so right now they'll be 4th. In 5th place, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just think they won't have a turnover problem now with Winston gone, so that's why I think they'll be the 5 seed. 6th, the 49ers. They're coming off a Super Bowl, and they will still be in the playoffs, but the NFC is going to be tougher next season, so I think they'll be 6th place. And finally, I think the 7th seed will be the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will still have a good record and could do well in the playoffs. I think they might have the same record as the 49ers, but I think they will still end up being 7th place. Thank you for watching my video, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like. If you're new, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.